So the recording has started. So ES6, you are writing less code with more functionalities. You are doing more with less. So what? In fact, I like lightning ES6. I like to liken ES6 to your ternary operator. We've looked at ternary operator, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Ternary operator is not part of ES6, but I only liken it to ternary operator. Remember, we've done if statements, and I told us then when we did ternary operator that if you do something like this,
Hello, good evening, sir. Sorry, I just joined the class.
okay, don't worry,
Are you only doing the JavaScript part of it?
you said?
Are you only doing the JavaScript part of it?
No, we are going straight to ES6. So we come back to the assignment after the class.
Okay.
Okay, let's get a global variable. Yeah. So if I have this code, here is 5, b is undefined. If a equals 5, then change the value of b to 4. Else, change the value of b to 7. Alert b. I can reduce this code by using ternary operator by saying variable b equals to, if a equals 5, then return 4, else return 7, alert b. So this, what we have here and what we have here, we do the same thing, but this is shorter, right? Why this is longer than this? But I don't know, which one do you find it easier to read? Which one do you find easier to read and understand? Maybe as a newbie, which one do you find, like, let's assume you are new to JavaScript now and someone wants to explain this. Well, which one do you find easier? Is it this or this?
The first one.
Yes, the first one. This looks easier to understand than this. That is the way ES6 and ES5 is. While ES6 is shorter, well, ES5 is relatively easier to understand, and that's why I started with ES5. But with ES6, you'll be writing less codes, but you'll be doing almost the same thing you've been doing all this while. I think the only place you'll be learning new thing under ES6 is when we do something called classes and constructors. And that's because I didn't teach us, when we did JavaScript objects, I didn't teach us object constructors. And well, it was intentional. I intentionally didn't teach us object constructors. That's because we are going to take our time here, and with classes and constructors, you'll be able to do more than just using object constructors. So I feel, well, maybe it's not so necessary for us to look at it, since we'll be looking at classes and constructors, and since we'll be doing more with it. So that's the only place you'll be learning new things. Aside that, you are not learning new things, you only be learning new syntax. You are not learning new logic. Okay, let me put it like that. You are not learning new logic, you are only learning new syntax, except when we look at classes and constructors. When you will learn new logic, you won't be learning new logic. You are only learning new syntax to do what you can already do. So let's start with variable declaration. Variable declaration. Before now, I explained to us that when you want to
sorry, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for drawing your attention. So now, if we are to write codes, are we to write using ES6 or 5, or anyone that you which is preferable for you?
How we advise that we switch to ES6. Reason is because when we go to the next stage where we start writing React, you'll be using ES6 for most of these things. You'll be using ES6.
Okay, all right.
So let's start with this variable declarations. That's the first thing I want to look at today. Declaration. So before now, I told us that when you want to declare a variable, you use the var keyword. But henceforth, we won't be using the VAR keyword again. We'll be using either the let or the const. So let's discuss the peculiarities of these two, how they are different from VAR. Let's first compare VAR with let's compare these two
Please,
together.
sorry for drawing you back. I don't know if noise is actually coming from someone's background.
From
Okay, noise is coming from someone's, but it's fine now. It's fine.
okay. So we want to compare the VAR with the let keyword and look at the difference between the two of them. Number one, let's do something with VAR. Let's say I have a variable A equals to 7. Then I have another variable A equals to 5. And I say alert A. What will I see if I run this code?
5.
5.
Five.
Good. What about this? What will I see?
Sorry.
What about this? What will I see?
What did you change, sir?
I remove the VAR in the second line. I remove this VAR.
You will still see hold on.
You will still say
You will still see 5.
good. So what's now the difference between this and this? I think I explained this at the beginning of our class.
So,
Yes, sir.
so I say
One is
what?
shorter than the other one.
What's the difference between this and this?
One is the shorter code.
I explained to us then that with this, if you have this one, this code, when JavaScript sees this word VAR, instantly it will create a container for you. This VAR means create a container. Then you are labeling that container A and you are inserting 7 inside it. When JavaScript sees this, it now assumes that you've already created a container somewhere. So it goes to that previously created container, that is the container we created on line 15, and changes the content of that container to 5. So we still have a single container, but with different value inside it. Initially, we created a container called A, we inserted 7 inside it. On line 16, you are referring to the same container, so instantly it goes straight to that container and changes the content of that container from 7 to 5. So we still have a single container. When you say alert A, it will now alert the content of that container. So this alerts 5. Do we get the explanation of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's look at this. Let me see if nobody is in the waiting room. Okay, there's nobody there. So let's look at this. In this case, on line 15, we created a container called A and we inserted 7 inside it. On line 16, we are creating another container. Because of this VAR keyword, we are creating another container with the same label A and we are inserting 5 inside it, meaning that we now have 2 different containers. So when you say alert A, JavaScript will now use the value of the last created container. Do we get the difference between the two? Meaning that this now,
Yes,
the first container is now redundant. Like we are not using it for anything now. It's useless because we've already created another container with the same label. We have 2 containers here. Do we get the explanation?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So now, this is not cool because since we've already created a container, we should not be able to recreate that container again. If we are doing it like this, then it means we are changing the content of that container, which is fine. But this doesn't make too much sense because what you are doing here is you are making the first container redundant, useless. Because henceforth, when you call on A, it's going to be using the value of the last created container. So they notice this bug with VAR, And in order to resolve this problem, let was introduced. Let was introduced. Let's look at it together. So let's first run this so that we see the results. And open the browser. So we have 5. But then, like I said, this is a bug that shouldn't happen. So let's solve this problem. To solve this problem, let was introduced. Let's see what happens when you use let to create your containers. And you run it. It's not giving out anything. That's because there's a bug.
Oh, sorry, sir. Hello, sir. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. I want to tell Mr. Newton to meet it.
Okay, can we continue?
Yeah, we can continue, sir.
Alright, thank you, sir. So we have this. You have this error. Identifier here has already been declared. What this means is, since I've already created a container labeled A, I should not be able to recreate it, because what you're just trying to do is you are making the first container redundant. So that is not cool. Like I said, this is a bug. So that bug was solved with let. So meaning that with this now, you won't be able to have 2 containers with the same label. It's going to tell you that you've already created a container with that label. Any question before we proceed?
No, sir.
Okay, sir. But this works fine, just like before. That's because it's still just one container. This is just a single container. So this will alert 5. Let's move on. So that's one. But that doesn't change the fact that you can have local and global variable with the same name. You can. Let's say I have a function called myfunc. And in this function, I can create a local variable called A and put any value of my choice and say alert A, even if I have a global variable with that name. Even though there's a global variable, you can still have a local variable with that name. But I can't have another local variable inside the same function with that name. This will throw back an error. I can't have another local variable with that name. But I can have a local variable and a global variable with the same name. Question. We are still on let's. So that's one. 2 is this. Let's look at a big bug in JavaScript that was solved with let also. Another bug. Although sometimes we use this bug to our advantage anyway. We use this bug to our advantage. This bug that I'm about to show you. If I run this, what will I see in my console? If I run this, what will I see?
0 to 3 will be printed on the screen.
Good, thank you, sir. 0 to 3 will be printed on the screen. Now, let's look at something very interesting. Let's just cut this out of this place and place it here. What will I see in the console?
So I think you will see 0.
Okay, let's see what is going on. Let me explain what we have then. Variable I is 0. Is 0 less than 4? Yes. It will do what is here. Of course, since there is nothing here, it will come here and say I plus plus, I becomes 1. Is 1 less than 4? Yes. It will do what is here. Then when it's done, add 1 to I becomes 2. Is 2 less than 4? Yes. Do what is here. Then add 1 to I becomes 3. Is 3 less than 4? Yes. Do what is here. Then add 1 to I becomes 4. Is 4 less than 4? No. But remember, the last value of I is 4, right? Is I less than 4?
Yes.
So since I is not less than 4, it will terminate. Meaning it will now do whatever you have outside of this for loop. So after doing that, it's now a console log I, meaning it will now console log the last value of I. Remember, the last value of I was what? 4. So this will console log 4. Is a bug. So meaning that the fact that I created an I here, I can still use it even outside the loop. But in that case, it's going to use the last value of I. I can still use it outside the loop. Another interesting thing to note is that if I have a variable here, I can still use it here. It will alert 8. Let's run it. Oh, it's console log 8. It looks so funny because you created the variable inside this loop, but somehow you are able to use it outside the loop. Let me explain what is actually going on. We've done local and global variables, and we've seen how they work. Now, a global variable is a variable that is created outside a function. So this makes this a global variable because it's not created within any function. And I explained that it can be used anywhere. Meanwhile, a local variable is created within a function, meaning it can only be used within that function. But since this was not created within any function, so it can be used anywhere in my code. So, but the difference between var and let is this. Var is a function type. I will explain the meaning of this. Function type. While let is block type. What's the meaning of this? But let me explain. What this line means, the first one, that var is function type, is that if I have a function and I create a variable within that function, I can use this variable anywhere within this function. That's the meaning of this first line. Once I create a variable inside this function, I can use this variable anywhere within this function. When I say anywhere, it means that if I create a variable inside, maybe even if statement here, I can use this C anywhere within this function. Once I'm within this function, I can use this variable C. That's the meaning. Var is function type. Like whatever, once you create var, it's within the scope of that function. I think that's better. It's within the scope. I can use it anywhere within that function. I can use it anywhere within that function. And the same way also, if I have a global variable, I can use this D anywhere in my code now. I can use this anywhere in my code. I can use this B anywhere in my code. Since it's not within any function, so it's automatically a global variable. And this C is a local variable, and I can use it anywhere in my function. Once I'm still within this function, I can use this C. I can come here and say alert C, and it will work because I'm still within that function. Do we get the explanation of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's now look at this of let. Let is block type. So what's the meaning of this? I can only use let within its block. Now the question is, what is a block? The easiest way to understand what a block is that just look at it this way, that a block is the opening and the closing bracket of a curly braces. Once you have a curly braces, once I create a block, is the opening and the closing part of a curly braces. So you can say this is a block. You can say this is another block. You can say this is another block. Do we get it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So this is a block, this is another block, and this is another block. What that means is once I create a variable inside a block, I can't use it outside that block. Once I create a variable inside a block, I can't use it outside that block. It can only be used within that block. Let's discuss. Let me comment out all of this for now and look at this. If I create this using let, I can't use this B outside this loop since it was created within this block. So if I come here and I say console log B, it's going to throw back an error telling me B is not defined. Do we get the explanation?
Yes.
Okay, let's run it and see the results together. B is not defined. Let's look at another one. Let's look at our if statement. Okay, then again, this I will just change this to let, and because of that, I can't use this I outside this block. So when I say console.I, it will tell me I is not defined. I can only use this within this place. I can't use it outside. It will tell me I is not defined. So let's look at our if statement also. Let's say I have a variable. Let's just use less for everything. Let's say I have a variable A is, let's say 3. Oh, sorry. If A equals 3, then so once I get another variable here, B equals, let's say 8, I can't come here and say, let's say alert B. I can't. I'll remove this for now. I can't come here and say alert B. Since I'm outside this place, I can't use this B again. I can only use it within. B is not defined. So maybe if I want it to alert B, maybe I want to use alert B somewhere here, I can just change the scope of this by saying let B, then I will change it to B equals 8. So with this now, this B is created outside this block. I'm only, look at it. This let means you are creating it. I'm only using the value, changing the value of the container here, but it was created here. So this can now alert it. Do we get the explanation?
Yes, boss.
Okay, thank you. So this was created outside this if block. So because of that, I can use it here. But let's assume I created it here. Then I won't be able to use it here. That's another thing to note. So this can alert it. Then also, before we leave this part, I'll need us to note something. That let's assume I have this. Let's adjust this code a bit. I'll change it back to this. Then remove this. So let's say, remove this. So let's say I have a for loop here or anything. Just ignore all of this. Let's come straight to this place. I can use this B here. Since I'm still within that block, I can use this B because this for loop itself is within the block of this if block. Is within that if block. So I can use this B here. Do we get it? In other words, a child block can use the value of its parent block. But a parent block cannot use the value of its child or children block. Again, a child block, this for loop now is like a child to this if because it's within the if. So the child can use anything created within the parent. This is created within this if now. So the child can use anything created, So the child can use anything created within its parents. It's not going to complain. But the parent cannot use something created within his child. What that means is, let's say I have a variable here. I can't come here and say alert C. It won't work. That's because this is inside the So that is because this is inside the child. You created this inside the child, so you can't come to the parent to use it. You can only use it within that child and its own descendant. So let's assume this child still has another child, then you can use it inside, but you can't use it inside the parent. The parent cannot use what was created inside the child, but the child can use what you created inside the parent. So, do we get the explanation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
So does that mean that the alert belongs to the if statement?
Yes, this one, the one here, belongs to this if statement because you are outside this for loop now, and you are still within this
Oh,
if statement. So
okay.
this belongs to the if. Why this belongs to the for loop?
Okay, sir.
So that is the difference between the VAR and the LET, the let and the var. That's the difference between them. Any question before we move to const? Okay, so let's go straight to constant. What is a constant? Well, when we call something a constant, it means we can't change the value. A const behaves almost the same way as a let. In fact, in most instances, a const behaves almost the same way as a let, but with an exception. I can't change the value of a constant. Once you call something a constant, you can't change the value inside it. You can't change what is inside that container again. So let's assume I have let a equals 5. I can come here and change the value to 2. And when I say alert a, this will alert 2. This will alert 2. But if this were to be a constant, I can't change the value. So this line 13 will throw back an error. That's because a is a constant. So you can't change the value inside a constant. Any question? So let's run it and see the error ourselves. Assignment to constant variable. Any question? So you can't also do something. Sometimes you used to do something like this. You can just get a variable. Maybe for now you don't know what you put inside the variable. You can do something like this, then change the value later. So at the initial part it will be undefined. So this you change it to 2 and it will alert a. But you can't do this to a constant. Once you get a constant, you have to put a value inside this. Except if you always want it to be undefined. So you can write it like this, undefined. But if you have it like this, you can't change the value inside it again. This will throw back an error. But if you want it to be undefined, you can write it like this, a equals to undefined. This will still throw back an error. So it means the value of a will always be undefined. The value of a will always, it's not going to change again to something else. It will always be undefined. So you can't change the value of a constant. Once you have a constant, meaning I can't have this because for now I'm saying it's undefined and I'm changing the value later. Once you have this, then it has to be undefined at all times. And I think if you run this code in Visual Studio Code, it will even underline this line. That's because if you assume that maybe you want to change the value of it sometime in the future to something else. So again, you can't change the value of a constant. In fact, that's the only difference as much as I know between let and const. You can't change the value of const. You can change the value of let. Any question before we talk about one?
So sorry sir, at what point, at what instance do you now have to use that constant? Is it compulsory you have to use that at a particular instance, or is your choice to use between let and constant?
Okay, number one, for all your variables, for all the places we'll be using var, change them to let. Change them to let. Var is not. Should I say it has been duplicated now? Yes, because like I said, look at all those bugs that were solved with let. They noticed those bugs in programming or in JavaScript. They noticed all those bugs and they realized that, oh, this needs to change. In order to change it, let was introduced. So change your var to let. That's one. Now to use const makes our code more secured. Maybe you feel that a value should not change, then it's better to just write it as const. If you feel you don't want to change the value of a variable at any point in your code, then change it to const so that you won't accidentally change what is inside that variable. You might have forgotten that you don't want the value to change. You might have forgotten. So just change it to const so that immediately you make that mistake of changing it, it will throw back an error and you quickly fix it. In fact, like if you are using Visual Studio Code, it will even underline it. Once you try to change it, before you even run it on the browser, it will underline it and tell you that, oh, there is something wrong here. So if you think you don't want to change the value of a variable at any point, for you know what, we start doing when we get to backend, we use Node.js for the backend, and at that point there will be in fact a lot of instances whereby you don't want to accidentally change the value of a variable. And how do you do it? Just write it as const, so that even if you because you might have forgotten, that will instantly call your attention to it. Oh, so that it's not that you would have changed it and you would have forgotten and it will now create a bug later in the future that you didn't even foresee. Do you get it?
Yes, it's fine, sir.
Okay, alright, sir. Thank you. So that then I know there's a convention here before we go. The convention is that you write const in capital letter. It's just a convention, not compulsory. It's a convention that when you create const, you write it in capital letter. So meaning I can say A equals to 5. What this does is immediately anybody sees this, the person knows that this is a constant. So let's say I want to get a variable called Taiwo and I don't want the value to change. I will just write it in capital letter. Maybe the variable name equals to Taiwo. So once anybody sees this name, the person will automatically know that, oh, this is a constant, but it's a convention. Like, you know, I told you that conventions, if you don't follow convention, that doesn't mean your code did not work. But you are not just following the normal thing in the community, in the JavaScript community. So this is just a convention in the development community, or in JavaScript development community. So we are done with var, let, and const. Henceforth, don't use var. Switch to let and const. Any question?
It's fine.
Okay. Can we proceed? Or should we stop here? Should we proceed or should we stop here?
You can proceed, sir.
Okay, let's move on. Next, we want to discuss something called destructuring. Destructuring. A second, please. I want to take water.
What is that, sir? Destruction.
Destructuring. Destructuring.
Okay.
Okay, let's proceed now. Destruction. Let's discuss the meaning of. Let me write out everything we want to do here. We are going to look at destruction. Let me write those things here. We look at destruction. We look at slide operator. Okay, what else? Before we go to classes and constructors, we look at the HOF, higher order functions. Of course, we are not going to get to HOF tonight. Higher order functions. What else are we going to look at? Then we look at classes and constructors. These ones can be, classes and constructors can be two classes. Like we start it, we may not be able to complete it in just one class. But these ones, we won't, like these ones, we really enjoy these ones very well. Destructuring, spread operator. If there's any other thing, or I can even go to the textbook and see any other thing that I'm yet to write out here. But let's look at destructuring and let's see what it does. Like I said, the essence of ES6. Oh, arrow functions. Yes, we also do arrow functions. After this, we do arrow functions. So I thought that the idea of ES6 is to write lesser code and do even more things. Destructuring is a good example of that. Like, I love it. I love it. And everyone that has used destruction, I believe everyone loves it. Let's look at what it helps us with. And please, you just have to know it. It's interesting to use, and you are going to be using it a lot. Especially when we even get to this JavaScript framework, React Angular Vue, we'll be using destructuring a lot. Destructuring is this. You have an object or an array. Like again, you have an object or let's still look at let's operator 2. So you have an object or an array and you want to remove part of it and set it as a new variable. Again, I have an object or an array and I want to remove part of it and set it as a new variable. That is when you bring in destruction. Let's see what that means. Let's look at how we write our code without destruction or without ES6. Normally, let's say I have an array and my array looks like this. Array looks like this. So, and I want to create a variable here or variable first. I want the value of first to be the first thing in this array. So what will I do? If I want the value of first,
index 0.
you said
Index of 0.
index 0. So maybe I want second. I want the value of second to be second item in the array. I want the value of I want to have variable third, and that will be the third thing in the array. So this is how I would have written it with ES5. But let's see how we can use destructuring to achieve this same purpose. Very interesting. I'll just come here and say variable. I will now, or let's just use pure ES6. I will now say, since I want to destructure an array, remember this is an array, I want to destructure an array. I'll just come here and put square braces like this because I'm about to destructure an array. So I'll say first, second, third equals to the name of the array. Here, these three lines and this one line, they do the same thing. So what this first will do is you go to this array and pick the first value there and set it as the value of variable first. If you pick the second item in this array, I set the value of variable second. If you pick the third item in this array, I set the value as the value of variable third. So I can now remove all of this. And I've successfully destructured. If I say alert first, I'll say 4. If I say alert second, I'll say 6. If I say alert third, I'll say 8. Isn't this lovely?
It's lovely, sir.
Yes. So I can even shorten this code by just say cut this one out of this and paste it here. Or cut it out of it and paste it here. So pick the first item here, assign it to the first item here. Pick the second item here, assign it to the second item here. Pick the third item here, assign it to the third item here. Everything is fine. So this is the structure. So I can say maybe Taiwo, and I can say alert it to 10. So if I say alert Taiwo now, I will say 10. The reason I decided to write Taiwo is because so that I won't think that it's because of this word first, because of this word second and third. No, it's because of the order. The first item goes to the first item, second item goes to the second item, third item goes to the third item, fourth item goes to the fourth item, on like that. So if I say alert Taiwo, I'll say 10. So, but what if, let's look at the situation that you want to do something like this. You want to assign Taiwo to the last item, to 10. But you don't want to assign the first, second, and third items to anything. Again, I want Taiwo to be 10, to be the fourth item here. But I don't want to assign this to any variable. How do I go about it? Very simple. So, meaning there's an item here, but we are omitting it. In fact, you can even see something like this. But I think this is easier to read. This is better to read. I think this is better. There's an item here, but I'm omitting it. There's another item here, I'm omitting it. There's another item here, I'm omitting it. and then I'm coming to this place and I'm assigning it to 10. Do we get it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is destructuring. I've successfully destructured this array. I've successfully destructured it. If I want to pick the second item, I can say just put Kenny here. So this Kenny will be assigned to the second item. So that's the structure. So we've looked at, oh, let's say alert Kenny. So we looked at how to destructure and let's look at how to destructure and objects. How to destructure and objects. So let's look at how we would have done it with ES5 and see how we are going to do it with ES6. Let's say I have a variable called obj, and this obj is a person, and the person has select properties. Property name, let's say Taiwo. Property school, let's say Lautech. And property department, let's say PCH. I have this variable called obj, and I have name, school, and department. So let's say I want to create a variable called name. I want the value to be the name here. I want to create another variable called department, and I want the value to be this BCH. Let's just look at those two for now. With ES5, I would have done it like this by saying obj name equals to obj dot name, then variable department equals to obj dot department. So that if I now say alert, or let's just use our console log name, comma department. So I will see the name and the department. So this is ES5. Let's do the same thing using our destructuring. Very interesting thing. So we are going to do something and say, because I'm destructuring an object, that's why we have curly braces. If it were to be an array, it would be square braces. I'll just say name, department. I will explain something to us. For now, let's destructure the tree. Then I will explain something to us soon. Equals to object. So I can remove this now. So I can say console log name, the school, and the department. It's going to pick the first value here. Now, like from our explanation of object, we said the first value here will be assigned to the first value here. The second value here will be assigned to the second value here. The third value here will be assigned to the third value here. But this is not really like that. In fact, it's not even like that. In this case, it's not using the order. Order really matter when you are dealing with an array. Order does not matter when you are dealing with objects. Reason is this. Let's compare the two of them. If I have an array like this, if I want to display 5, I have to say that, oh, I want the second value, that is A index 1. But if I want school, I don't, in fact, whether school is here or is here, it doesn't matter. I will still write the same code. I will still say obj.school. So it is the key that matters here. But in this case, it's the order, because if I take this 5 away from this place and I put it here, then what I would like to be different. It's going to be different. I will say A index 2 in order to pick it now, not A index 1 again, because order matters when you are dealing with array. But order does not matter when you are dealing with objects. So it's not using the order, it's not. Instead, it's going to be using the key, the name here, whatever you put here, this here, the key. Because it is the key that matters when you are dealing with objects. But when you are dealing with array, order matters. So it's not using the order, no. Instead, it's using the key. What it's doing here is that it will go to this obj and look for property name and assign it to this name. It will go to obj and look for property school and assign it to this school. is to go to obj and look for property department and assign it to department. Do we understand? Are we confused?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. With you, sir.
Are we
We
confused?
understand.
Okay, let's proceed. So, when we say console log name school department, name will be Taiwo, school will be the value of school here, which is Lautech, while department will be the value of department here, which is BCH. Like I said, it's not going to use the order. No, instead it will use the key. So let's run this and see the results. Name school department. Name school department. Any question? Now, but there is a little thing that I don't know if any of us noticed something. Remember I said it's going to use the key, meaning that it will go to this place and look for property name and assign it to name. It will look for property school and assign it to school. It will look for property department and assign it to department. But what if I want to use another variable aside from the key? Do you understand? If you don't get that, what I just explained, you understand it now. Imagine this. Maybe I want to say, I want to do this, something that will give me this result. You see, you will agree with me that inside this object, there is no property called my school. Abi now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There is no property
Yes, sir. Yes,
called
sir.
my school. So with ES5, I can do something like this. I will just say let my variable my school equals to obj dot school, and of course it will come here and assign the value of school to my school. So if I say my school, it will give me Lautech. It will give me Lautech. So we want to achieve these same results using ES6 destruction. Let's see how we can go about it. I can say variable. Now, if I say my school, equals to obj. Remember I explained to us that it's going to use the key. I think I omitted to say. Okay, remember I explained that it's going to use the key. But there is no
Yes.
property here called my school. So it won't be able to assign it to my school. Do you understand? What
Yes,
I mean
sir.
is if I say alert my school, you just say undefined. Undefined. Since there is no variable, there is no property inside obj called my school. So how then do I achieve this result? I can now say this. That is, go to obj, pick school from kids, obj, and assign it to my school. It will pull out school from obj and assign it to my school. So when I say alert my school, I will now say Lautech. Any question? But there is no variable called, I don't have variable school. I want us to know that I don't have variable school. I only have variable my school because I've pulled out school and I've assigned it to my school. So I don't have variable school.
Okay.
School is not defined. So there's no variable school. The only variable I have here is my school. I pulled out school from obj and I immediately assigned it to my school. So the variable I can use here is variable my school. Any question?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
that line 22. Sir, can you just explain that line 22?
Okay.
I'm saying var in bracket school. Then you now put my school.
Okay. Let's take it so you understand it now. Now we have this, and I explained that what this line is going to do is it will go to obj and pull out school and
Yes.
assign it to a variable called school so that we can say we'll be able to use variable school here. Do you understand how this works?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good. So let's run it. Fine, it's working fine. But now we have
Okay.
a problem.
Yes.
I don't want to call it school. I want to call it something else. I want to call it something else. Maybe I want to call it house. I just want to call it something else.
Okay.
So this we go to variable obj and look for the property house inside obj.
Yes.
But there is no property house in obj.
In OBJ.
So it won't be able to pull it out. Instead, you just pull out undefined and assign it to house. So that if I come here and I say alert house, it will just give undefined. Since there is no
Undefined.
house inside obj. But what I want
Yes.
to do is I want to assign this school to this house. So that I will have a result that looks like this as variable house equals to obj dot school. I want to have a result that looks like this, that will give me this.
Okay.
So in order to achieve that result, I can now say pull out school and assign it to house.
Okay.
So if you go to this and pull out school from it,
Okay.
then assign it to house. So that I can now use house as a variable. I can now use house
Okay.
as though it is a variable now. So this will now give me Lautech.
Okay.
Do you
I
understand?
get it now.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
Thank you, sir.
you're welcome, sir. So we've looked at the structuring. Structure. So I think let's stop here tonight. We are going to look at spread operator and rest operator in our next class. But before we call it a day, I want us to look at something. I think it's it's classified as part of the structuring. But it's a bit different, but it's something that we get immediately, almost immediately. Let's look at something interesting here. Let's say I have a variable here called name. Like ES6 is very, very interesting. I have a variable here called name. I have another variable called department. And let's say the value of department is, let's say, software. Then I have the value of school. So let's see, SQL. So I have these three variables. And I want to create an object that will give me something like this. I want this object to have a property called name. And I want the value to be this name also. So name like this. Like create a property called name and let the value be this variable name. Create another property called department and let the value be this variable department. Create another property called school and let the value be this variable school. So that at the end of the day, if you say console log obj, you will just see name is Taiwo, department is software, school is SQI. Let's run this. Got this. So instead of writing this line, ES6 allows us to shorten it. Since the key name and the value name are the same, this is name and this is name, ES6 allows us to just write one out of it. Since these two are the same, ES6 allows us to write one. Since these two are the same, it allows us to write one. We still have the same results. So what is the same? So when your key name and your value name are the same, ES6 allows us to just write one. It will interpret it as name is name, department is department, school is school. Do we get it? This is the last thing we are considering today. Do we understand it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Thank
whenever your key name and your value name are the same, then ES6 allows us to just write one out of the two. Any question before we call it a day? Like I said, the only thing you are doing in ES6 is just to learn syntax. Everything you'll be doing, you can do it using ES5. How we've been doing. You can do that using ES5. You are just learning a shorter way to do the same thing that you've been doing all this while. Or another
Yes, sir.
way to do the same thing you've been doing all this while. So now to our assignment. Can we call it a day here? Can we end everything about today's class that moves it to our last assignment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now concerning our last assignment, what's the progress?
Okay, sir. I think I called you yesterday.
Sir?
I think yesterday I called you regarding my own
Yes,
issue.
we spoke about the assignment.
So I was unable to watch the video on YouTube for local storage. So because to store the after creating an account to store the data on that local storage, I could not do that. So I went on YouTube to watch that class, the last class, but I discovered that that part of the class was skipping, so I could not watch the video. And the explanation you gave me, I tried using them, but I couldn't. I didn't get it.
Okay.
So that's what is delaying. I've done the registration page. It's just to create an account and how to store the details on that local storage, so that when I go to the login page, I can use those details to log in. That is my issue.
Okay. Since you said the last video is skipping, like it's not displaying everything. So I think tomorrow I should be free tomorrow. Tomorrow I will create a video on local storage and upload it on YouTube and send the link to the group. So by tomorrow,
Okay, sir.
I
Better.
should see another link.
Thank you, sir.
You're
Sir,
welcome, sir.
so I'm hoping to. So I'm very sorry for, like, I don't want to give any for the assignment, but so I'm hoping to start this night. I'm very sorry for the delay, sir.
Okay, sir. So what's the progress? Others, please, what's the progress? I just want to know how far we've gone.
So as for me, I'm almost done, or should I say I'm done? But I still have something to fix based on what you said the last time. I just want to get it done myself. That's why I've just been trying. But hopefully, I should get it done probably tomorrow by God's grace.
Amen. Okay, sir. Thank you. Mr. Ojotule. Ojotule.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
so I want to say thank you for your classes.
You are
Me as a
welcome, sir.
person, I just want to say thank you because this 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 lecture that you are giving us, the money we paid cannot cater for this lecture. So I just want to say thank you, sir,
You're welcome, sir.
for the teaching and everything. So I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You're
On
welcome.
behalf of the class.
You're welcome, sir.
Yes, thank you. The governor has spoken.
You're welcome, sir.
The class governor.
Yeah,
We
thank you for
appreciate
speaking
that.
up here. We really appreciate it, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Okay. Please, we also
And
need
we hope to continue our journey after JavaScript.
Yes, sir.
No problem.
Sir, you will be the one that will teach us a Reato.
No problem. No problem. When the time comes, no problem. Now, please, I also want us to know that we haven't gotten to the end of the assignment. Like I said, it just is like we still have a lot of things to add to the assignment. It's a banking app. You'll be able to transfer as time goes on. Be able to do credit, debit, and all of those things. We are taking it step by step. Please, let's quickly work on this one so that I'll be able to add more so that we go to the next level. Then on and on, like that. Do we get it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in our next class, I hope that a lot of us should have been done or close to completion, so I can do the correction of the first phase. When I say correction, I may not necessarily design the whole page. I will just do the major thing that might be giving us a use.
The major aspect will be the JavaScript
Yes,
part of it. I don't think we will need the HTML and CSS.
Okay.
I think this is the JavaScript part that we will be mostly interested in.
Okay. No problem. So in our next class, I hope that if most of us are almost done, we'll be able to do that so that I can add more tasks to the assignment.
All right, sir.
Yes, sir. Good night.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome, sir. By God's grace, tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. By God's grace, tomorrow I should record the local storage class and send it to us.
All right, sir. We'll appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.